Parents of Reddit, what is the best weird flex but okay moment you've seen from your child? My 6-year-old son recently put his foot down, letting me know it was not okay for me to tell him what he could wear or not because he is allowed to have his own fashion. Okay, fine. Shorts, sandals and one black sock it is. I contemplated having a button made that said I dressed myself today for my children to proudly wear, them not realizing it was mostly so other adults would stop judging me for my kids' fashion choices. Katie, you have to eat 3 more green beans before you're excused. No, no more. 3 more. I'm gonna eat 4 more. Oh no, you got me good. My son is good with this. Me. Okay mate. 5 minutes till you have to hop out of the bath. Son. No. 3 minutes. Righto. My son was in the tub and asked exactly how old he was. Me. About 4 years, 10 months, and 4 days. After a few moments of deep thought, I heard him say quietly and reverently to himself, and I haven't been bit by a single wild animal. Oh man. Still kills me. Good job keeping those feral hogs away. When I was 6, my absent father came back into my life briefly and I paraded him around all of my friends bragging saying this is my dad. I bet you thought I didn't have a dad, but I did. He was gone again within a month. Lmao. Kids really want a dad, don't they? Sassy niece after first day in school. I learned how to count to 11 today. I bet you can't, weird flex, but wait, I indeed cannot count to 11. 11 is a fancy way of saying 110. My 10-month-old son hates being changed. Recently he figured out that if he grabs his balls in a death grip with one of his hands, it makes it impossible to get the diaper on him. I die a little inside every time he does this. My 3.5-year-old outside the other day. He was stabbing the ground with a stick. I asked, what you're up to, buddy? I'm digging holes for the ants to climb into. That's so sweet of me, mom. He's a nut. While babysitting my cousin, she got really close to me and smelled like rotten eggs. So I asked her if she farted and she immediately replied no, that's my brief. At least she's self-aware. Your story reminded me of the time my niece had an audible fart and I asked her if she farted and she replied number. It smells like Froud Up sniffs the air a few times. Yes, someone Froud Up. Not a kid, but when I was 5, I had a mad crush on the 20-year-old daughter of this wealthy family friend of ours. I had asked for her hand in marriage and she agreed willingly. Playful to her but fully serious on my part. She was carrying her soon-to-be groom when her mother confronted me. You need to have money if you want to marry my daughter. I looked right into her eyes and without missing a beat reached into my little pockets and tossed her a penny. Her face priceless. My smirk flawless. My game never peaked again. When I was 4 or 5, my parents were invited to their friend's house. When we arrived, everyone was sat around a fire outside and I deadpan asked to sit next to the pretty lady, aka the friend's wife. Still haven't forgotten because nobody will let me. My son was watching me cut down a very small tree, like 6 inches across, very small, and the following occurred. Son, wow, I've never seen someone cut down a tree that big before. Me, well, I mean, you've only seen one person cut down a tree so far, but you've only been alive for 5 years, so give it time. Son, excuse me, I've been alive much longer than that. Me, oh yeah? How long have you been alive then? Son, 10,000 years. Me, you know, I actually don't doubt that. He's a treasure. Plot twist, your son has spent 10,000 years living as blind people, and this is his first reincarnation where he has vision. My little boy is extremely proud of his ability to get the automatic soap foam dispenser to form a shaped form on his hand. He should be proud. That takes a tremendous amount of skill to do. When my son was 5, a waitress at Applebee's asked him how old he was, to which he exclaimed, I'm 5 and I pooped today. I think everyone within 4 tables of us was very impressed. My dad took my daughter out to eat once when she was 2 and the server asked if she was ready for ice cream and she said no, I have a poop coming. He just said well, more room for ice cream then, which I think was pretty dope for someone being paid basically nothing to work at Applebee's. not a parent, but when I was little I had a child therapist and I told her very happily and even in a bragging tone that I was only 8 years old and I already had a training bra, and I remember her just looking at me for a while and going okay. UHH very nice A22R2. Now let's get back on topic about therapy. I am the child here, but when I was maybe 3 or 4, I took a dump that was green, which was quite exciting to me at the time. I went and told my mom, I just had a poop that was green, and she just told me next time make me a blue one. The rare reversed flex. When my daughter was I think 8, we were in the pool throwing a beach ball around. I tossed it to her. She catches it then says to me, "Is that all you've got, old man? LOL. That's when you fricking spike it as hard as you can at her little face." My daughter told me she is made out of love, which I have told her before, and that means she is invincible and so I can't hold her hand whilst she walks on the wall, which I have not told her. This one took me a minute. I assume you're referring to some sort of garden wall or something, but I was picturing her defying gravity in the living room, and really, if she can do that, she probably doesn't need her hand held after all. When my son was about 5, we went to visit relatives in the Washington, D.C. area. We were on the metro when my son eyed a very pretty professional young woman. "I've got a lot of blocks," he told her. "If you come to my room I'll show you." Then he made motorcycle noises for about 10 seconds. You're gonna have your hands full when he starts dating. My son is a freelancer in his spare time, so I often find him in weird places. He's 16 now, but even as a baby, I'd find him on top of the piano, at the top of the closet, etc. He could climb anywhere. Recently, I found him standing in the branches of a tree down the street, staring off into space. I asked what he was doing, and he said, "I'm just hanging out." Okay, man. Whatever works for you. Sounds like your son is actually a cat in disguise. So, my 7-year-old has always been eccentric. I started keeping a log of some things she says in passing on my phone when she was 3, and there are some good ones I feel apply to this thread. Something smells like chocolate and it's coming from the inside of my mouth. Yeah, well, I can read blank spaces. Chickens have chicken in their bodies. Most of these are responses to her older sister bragging about something she did to excel in school. I remember being about 6-8 and bragging to multiple strangers about how my older, red-headed and white sister, for context I was a little brown-haired, brown-eyed, brown-skinned child, was my full-blooded sister but had a different last name because I thought it was a cool fun fact about my family. Turns out she was a half-sibling and nobody told me until I was older. Well, it is genetically possible if that makes you feel better. Not my child, but a friend's 7-year-old. We were talking about golf and he told me that he can drive the ball 1,000 plus yards, but we can't see it because the simulator glitches whenever he does it. When my son was small he kept a notebook full of tips. Tips like, never wear a cowboy suit on island. Never stay at a hotel in the woods. When your parents ask you to do chores, pretend to be asleep and they'll forget. Always be good friends with a cousin. He has 38 first cousins, so no problem there. Always try really hard. If you invent something, don't test it out with a live person. Don't pronounce mom like mom, say mum, it'll be cooler. Be scared of the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Make your day better with seafood. Never say you are doing nothing to a parent. Never invite someone sick to your party. Don't use a pencil, on thick and fancy paper. Never fight in a war. Always get the biggest bed. If you have a bad taste in your mouth at the beach, you may need mouthwash. Never eat nuts you find in your yard. There's 325 of these tips, and they are all awesome. Yeah, he ripped the idea off the old Nickelodeon show Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. I didn't learn that until much later, but the tips are all his. Here's a few more. Don't fart in public. Don't wear socks and sandals. It's okay to get mad at your sister if she doesn't understand you. Never learn too much in one day. Never dissect anything, just pair up with someone and make them do it. Never swim near fishermen. If you want to collect something you already have. Make your hair in a hip style. If someone is scaring you, pretend to be asleep. I really, from the bottom of my heart, would love to read them all. You should make a post with them and put the link here. Also, if they are all like these, it should go in a book. I'd totally buy that. Twice. My wife brought my 3-year-old son to my job site since he really wanted to drive the excavator. So my uncle, who operates the excavator, lets him dig some holes and play around while sitting on my uncle's lap. He then comes up to me and says, "Daddy, I want to drive the excavator with you." I told him I don't know how to. "You have to go with your uncle." His reply, "It's okay daddy, I'll teach you," with the biggest smirk on his face. I'm now imagining an adult male with a child on his lap, and on that child's lap, another adult being taught how to drive that thing. My toddler just threw her dinner on the floor, started clapping, yelled hooray as loudly as her little lungs could possibly allow, then looked right at me holding up her palm for a high five. I high-fived my daughter in celebration. Now that's a weird flex right there. I'm 11 years older than my little brother, and when he was 4 he went around the entire neighborhood and wrote his name on everyone's garage doors in really big letters with a permanent marker. My son, who was 4 or 5 at the time, walked into the kitchen and said to my wife, "Give me my usual, but put it in a real glass." She's like, "What? Your milk?" It was then we realized we had to rein in the iPad and Curse of Monkey Island. 2% on the rocks, half a twist, and put some English on it. My 4-year-old Henry was carrying a tub of Legos down the stairs. It was slightly heavy, but he insisted on carrying it himself. He was struggling, so I was walking slowly with him in case he fell. He says, through a little 4-year-old grunts, "This box is heavy. I have to use Henry powers." I used to tell people that when you go through a puberty your testicles morph together to become one big testicle. You were wise beyond your years. Was running behind for work today and the young one told me she had to poop. I asked if she could hold it until daycare. 2-minute drive. She said no. She wasn't lying. She had already pooped. As I was asking, it was on the kitchen floor. This is beautiful prose. My youngest shoots randomly too. The true reasons are unfathomable. Prose. My daughter had a paper from school that she brought home. On the paper it said if I had $1 million I would, and all the kids had to put their answer. My daughter wrote that she would pop out her eyeballs. When I asked her about it later, she explained how she wanted to pop out her eyeballs and replace them with chocolate eyeballs. Oh man, I'm an optometric assistant and I wish someone would say something like this to our eye doctor. I'd love to see the look on his face. My 4-year-old son kept peeing on the toilet seat because he wouldn't hold his dong. I told him he had to start holding it and his response was, "I can't hold it because it's too big." Welp, after spending 7 years on Reddit, my most popular comment is now about my 4-year-old's dong. Thank you. What a chat. When I was young, my little sister nearly failed kindergarten. She didn't know the alphabet. In fact, she didn't bother trying to learn it. When asked why, she said, "I don't need to learn my letters because I'm pretty." Way ahead of the age curve on that one. Props. My 5-year-old talks to all of the animals. They're all her friends. She literally names every creature she sees in a day. See a moth? Oh, that's Stella, my moth friend. A bird? That's Jake, my bird friend. He's on his way to his grandma's. A rattlesnake? Don't kill it, Mom. That's Jenna. She's a nice protector snake. No, she won't go near it. She's smarter than that, just really weird. She's also insists that she's a super kid, with batteries for everything. Doesn't wanna eat anymore. My food battery is full. Doesn't wanna go to bed. My sleep battery is full. And she shows you where these batteries are. One on her leg, another on her neck. I'm starting to wonder if I was abducted. This brought a genuine smile to my face. She sounds amazing, lol. A friend of mine had 2 young boys. The older one, maybe 5, was sitting with him and pointed at her white hair and said, "What's this, Papa?" My friend said, "Oh, it just means I'm getting old," and his son looked at him dead serious, looked at his brother and said, "Well, I guess it's just us and Mom soon." Huh. My wedding day, the ring bearer, 5 is meeting one of my groomsmen, 19 for the first time ever. Ring bearer walks up, is introduced, and he responds by going, "I know where your nuts are." And I'm the perfect height to just punch them. Then he just stood there. Not my child, my brother-in-law. Oops, my bad. My son started 2nd grade this week. A couple of weeks ago the school sent out postcards with the date and time of the open house and his teacher's name. I asked him if he was excited to be in Mrs. So-and-so's class, and he said yes, but he's also worried. I asked what he was worried about and he said what if she falls in love with me and wants to marry me. I laughed and reassured him that he needs not worry, since she's already married. Obligatory not a parent disclaimer. When I was in kindergarten, one of the boys came up to me and said, "I'm so strong I brush my teeth without water." It's always stuck with me because I was genuinely impressed. I ran around all day sharing the news as if it were some miraculous superpower or something. When I was an after-school tutor for primary school kids, I excused a boy to the bathroom. He came back telling me he made the biggest poo in the world. He intentionally didn't flush so that I could come look at it. I told him that was great, but it was art time. He said his big poo was art. My kid wanted company in the bathroom the other day. Then he said, "I love pooping," with a sigh of contentment. My 3-year-old nephew was walking around the house one day. He kept touching his private area, so we asked if he needed to go to the bathroom. He says no, so we ask why does he keep touching his private area. His reply calls it's pretty and gives us a huge smile and walks off. I can fit 2 popcorn kernels inside there. His foreskin. He managed to fit 2 popcorn kernels under his foreskin. He was 4 at this time. This kind of reads like he told you he could do it and you were like, "Nah, prove it, I'll be damned." I was telling the 6-year-old about my lottery ticket and he asked if we win, "Can I have 1 million? I am going to give it to my principal, so he closes the school forever." Evil mastermind. I went to a nature park with my cousin and her kid who is about 5. We went into the reptile house, so I started telling my cousin's daughter about snakes. After I was done she just turned to me, said, "Hey, you know what I know," and repeated every fact that I just told her back to verbatim. When my daughter was 4, we were eating dinner together at my desk watching videos of cute animals, spaghetti and a half glass of milk so it wouldn't spill in my keyboard. She says to me, "Daddy, today we learned about capacity." "Oh yeah kiddo, what does that mean?" "The amount a container can hold." I'm impressed. It's spot on and say, "Wow, you really get that concept." She responds, "Sincerely Daddy, you didn't fill my cup to capacity." My 3-year-old said she wanted to be a scientist. I was so proud. The next day we were driving and she says, "Dad, there's a scientist." It was a guy on a street corner spinning a sign for a pizza place. A scientist. Sigh. I'm not a parent, but I sometimes play with my nieces when I visit my family members. My oldest niece's favorite thing when she was just starting to speak was puppies. She loved dogs of all kinds and one surefire way to make her smile was to point one out to her. However, for a long time she only knew puppy and not dog. Come one day, I'm reading one of her animal books to her and we get to the dog. I say, "Hey look, it's a puppy." She just turns to me with a stern look and says, "No, dog." I really felt put in my place, like she was insulted that I was patronizing her. My son kept asking me something and I said, "You have already asked me that twice," and he said, "I will ask 3 times. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.